books to share with you. So I think we should just get into it. This is going to be half haul, half just straight recs, but all books for summer. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books that I'm taking on a trip with me soon that I specifically bought for that trip. The trip is to Greece, as you will kind of see with 2 of those books. And then I have 7 other books that I'm going to recommend to you that I have already read that I think are just perfect for summer. So it's a lot of books. So we're going to start. I will start with the ones for my upcoming trip. The first 2 I'm going to show you are Valentino by Natalia Ginsburg. And then Sagittarius by Natalia Ginsburg. So, okay, where do I begin? These are for my trip, but I am bad and I already started Sagittarius. I am 20 pages from finishing it. It's phenomenal. I freaking love it. It's the first book by Natalia Ginsburg that I've read in English. I have some other books of hers in Italian, so both of these are in translation from Italian to English. So just pretend that you don't see this bookmark here. I chose these for their size. They are both pretty slight, probably novella length. And because I knew Natalia Ginsburg was supposed to be really great, but I hadn't read her before, and I thought, perfect opportunity to try. These editions with the orange, pink, and then the blue, purple stripes are gorgeous. They are the UK editions from Daunt Books. Daunt. D-A-U-N-T. You know, I live in the States. I believe New Directions has a book that has 2 novellas in it, and I believe actually it's literally these 2, Sagittarius and Valentino, but I didn't like the cover, and I haven't gone out of my way to buy an edition that I really, really love in a long time, so I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna pay a little extra for shipping and get these gorgeous editions. So sue me. Okay, this one, Valentino, I'll read to you what it's about. This is the one I have not read yet. Valentino is the spoiled child of doting parents who have no doubt that he will be a man of consequence. His sisters, however, see him for what he truly is: lazy, apathetic, self-absorbed, and far more interested in partying than applying himself to his studies at medical school. His parents' dreams begin to unravel when, out of the blue, Valentino becomes engaged to the wealthy yet strikingly ugly Maddalena. The family is scandalized by his choice of bride and suspicious of his motives. In Valentino, class, social expectations, wealth, and marriage come under Natalia Ginsburg's forensic scrutiny. Her unflinching moral realism and her keen psychological insight, resulting in a work of quiet devastation. Yes, please. Also, these editions have really beautiful colors on the So if you live in the US or anywhere that NYRB books are sold, it's really easy to get, readily available. But I saw this cover and fell in love with it. Good book covers, good books. It's like two of my very few vices. So here we are. Pink and blue stripes with some red dots. It's called Three Summers by Margarita Liberace. And on the back it's called A Leisurely, Large-Hearted Coming-of-Age Novel, Earthy and Innocent, Nostalgic and Beautifully Rendered. A dreamy cinematic tapestry of Greek village life. And then on the inside it says, Three Summers is a warm and tender tale of three sisters growing up in the countryside near Athens before the Second World War. Living in a ramshackle old house with her divorced mother are flirtatious Aunt and Maria, beautiful but distant Infanta, and dreamy and rebellious Katerina, through whose eyes the story is mostly observed. Over 3 summers, the girls share and keep secrets, fall in and out of love, try to understand the strange ways of adults, and decide what kind of women they hope to become. So, yes, please. Very excited about this one, and I'll let you know what I think. This concludes the trip book haul portion of this video. Now I'm going to share other books that just make me think of summer, give you a little synopsis of each, and maybe one will pique your interest. I would also add to this file the Neapolitan novels by Elena Ferrante. I currently do not have those in my possession. They were lost in the mail when I tried to send them from one house to another. Not a big deal. I'll buy them again one day, and one of my 4 books actually I had left on a porch overnight and it was waterlogged and so kind of warped. I'll buy them again, but those are really good to read in summer. Really, really good. And then I have 7 others for you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, yes, okay. Here is, some of these might have been in my other summer book recommendations video. I honestly don't remember. I just looked at my shelf and plucked some out for you. This is This Summer Book, an example of a book from New York Review of Books by Dove Jansen. She is the creator of the Moomins, and this is a really touching book about a young girl and her grandma in a series of vignettes. That's how it's told. They are on an island. Just trying to read this here. they spend their breaks smoking, joking, and gossiping. But they're also working at this Storyland place. After work, they followed their own reckless rules, teasing the fun out of small-town life, sleeping in the family station wagon, and drinking borrowed liquor from old mayonnaise jars. But no matter how wild, they always managed to escape any real danger, until Theodore Barry sees that Sills really does need her help, and then everything changes. So it's a really tight friendship. They work together over the summer. It's a coming-of-age novella slash novel, and it's just really beautiful but simple. Also, it's kind of understated. It's really relatable for, like, even if you didn't grow up in a small town, there's just aspects of this summer experience that feel like being like a middle teenager. I mean, like, not 14, not 18, but like 15, 16. This book. Then we have Two Cities by Cynthia Zarin. She is a poet. Really short. This is a good book to read if you want to feel like you're in Italy, walking around as an artist with your artist friends, thinking of past loves and looking at good art. It's got a lot in here about good art. It's written kind of memoir style, but by a poet, so the writing is superb. And one part of it, she goes to Venice, and then in the other part of it, she goes to Rome. And it's just really well written. And a really good book to buy and just pop in your purse or your bag if you're going to the beach or like traveling or on the subway. Anything like that. It's super portable and super good. Alright, then we have Real Estate by Deborah Levy. This is the third of 3 books that are memoir style, as a part of, I think she calls it like her living biography. In this one, she talks about imagining a perfect home for herself and kind of in her head pulling things that she experiences and like placing them in her like imagined fantasy home. But she also goes to Paris to write. I think she has this pretty bare bones apartment, but people come over and hang out there with her. I think she's there on a fellowship. It's been a while since I read it, but when I read it, I just felt like I was there with her. I was having a new experience with her, like in Paris and in other places. And the details that she chooses are excellent and really unexpected. Like, she talks about buying her friends some gifts, and she mentions, I think, 2 or 3 items. And one of them is a bar of soap shaped like a cicada. And it's very much about place. Like, in the margins, I wrote, with a little effort, you can bring places with you. So she talks a bit about that. Like, the guava ice cream was smooth, pulpy, fleshy, otherworldly. I vowed to learn to make it, if not in my new house in the hills of Delhi, then in my flat in the hills of North London. She was, on here too, I have underlined about how she is talking about someone else's house, and she says, curiously, it seemed to me there was nowhere to daydream in her house, no nooks and crannies, no space that was not she's there to help her mom see this doctor to try to figure out what's wrong with her. And, yeah, southern Spain to see a famous consultant